hello, hello. Have I got something really outside the box for you guys today? So, today, I'm going to do something a little different here on the Crafty Corner because today I'm going to work with a pattern, okay? Now, this is a very simple pattern, and the creature that I'm about to create is actually inspired by this pattern, which is from CholiKnight.com. And she has a great set of patterns, and so I have this one, and yes, if you're reading that, JD, it does say a ferret. And so for my good friend, JD, I am going to be making a plushie that is a ferret. So the first step in doing that is to print out the pattern, which is 3 pages. And then I'm going to take these 3 and I am going to cut them out, and then I'm going to trace around them onto some cardstock, or in this case, this is actually butcher paper. And I'm going to trace around them, and then I'm going to copy all of the marks onto the pattern piece so that the pattern piece doesn't tear when I cut it out. Okay, so for this, I need to have 2 different types of fabric. One needs to be a light inner fabric, like a white or a tan. The other one needs to be like a dark color, and then I need like a special accent for like just inside the ears and to do the face and stuff. And on my faces, I like to use felt, so we will be getting out some felt and cutting out some felt pieces. And we're going to be cutting out some fabric for the inside of the ears. So let me show you what we're going to use. For the light areas of our ferret, we are actually going to be using this fleece, which is kind of mottled. This is called mottling, and it just has this kind of different texture of color to it, and I think that it's going to give our ferret some life-like appearance. And then we're going to be using, for some of the dark areas, we're going to be using this, which is actually called minky. And that's because it has this really cool mink feel to it. And you can see it's got this bubbly texture. So I think that'll give our little guy some character. So I'm going to get started on the pattern pieces and getting out our felt for our accents and cutting out our face pieces and everything. And as soon as I'm done getting everything traced and pinned down, I'll be back and we'll talk about how to get this all pinned up properly and how to get it cut, okay? Okay, so we're back. And what we've done is we've transferred all the patterns onto the butcher paper, including all of the little applique pieces, okay? So here they are, all of our little pieces and parts. Okay. And what we've done here is basically we've written on each piece what it says. So this is the headpiece, and it says cut one of the face fabric, which is the lighter fabric. I've marked the nap and the stretch and the ear marks where the ears should be placed. So when you take the ears, they'll go in here. They'll go this way. So your ears will go in, and there's a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the whole thing. And this part will actually go in connection to this part, which is the back of the head. So at this point, see, I went ahead and marked that for the opening. So everything that should be left open has been marked. Everything's been sketched out rough. The only thing that I didn't really do is I didn't mark the foot pieces on this little foot right here. And I will get those on there. Basically with the feet, it's kind of an eyeball thing to determine where they go. But, you know, if it says to cut 4, then I'm going to cut 4. And so I marked all of that on there. So we're going to get rid of all the paper patterns. We're just going to put those to the side. And I usually keep them in a little envelope so that I can refer back to them if I need to. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get out the fabrics that we're going to be using for this. The applique pieces, we're going to set those to the side because those little pieces we don't need until a little later. So we're going to set these to the side. And then we are going to start with the head. Always with the head first. So this is our head. These two pieces constitute the body. This is part of the face. This goes with the head. This is the tail. So that's actually going to go around the back. Then you've got legs that'll come in here. Your tail, which will come down through the bottom. And your little feet. Okay? So we're going to start on the head first. So I'm going to put these to the side. And we are going to get out first the dark fabric, and we'll get that out of the way. And then we'll work on the light fabric, okay? So I'll be with you in just a second. We're going to get the fabric out and the pins, and I'm going to show you how to pin this up. Okay, so I've cut down a bit of the fabric here. And you'll notice on the pattern it says stretch and nap, okay? So the stretch is the part of the fabric that stretches. So if you pull on it, oh, there's the stretch. And that's the nap. So we're going to put this on. Now, we only need one of these, so we're going to open the fabric up. We're going to kind of figure out what piece we want to use for our head. And I like this piece, so this is going to be the first piece we're going to use. And just to make it easier, I'm going to use my fabric scissors to cut this piece down to a more manageable size. Then it's pretty easy. So we're just going to take some pins, and we're just going to pin through the paper and the fabric all the way around. Now, you may choose to use more pins, you may choose to use less pins. For the purpose of this, I will be pinning this all the way. Now, my pin tray there actually comes from a auto parts store. And that's so that I don't drop anything, you know, magnetic. See? Everything else will come out, but not those, because that's a giant magnet. And, all right, here we go. Now, the fabrics that are suggested for these are obviously things like fleece or minky. You could use felt if you wanted to. It's just not going to have any stretch because felt does not have stretch in any direction. Let's get this on here. And then from this point, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to take my fabric scissors, and I'm just going to come in, and I'm just going to cut around my pattern. Pretty easy. I'm going to do this to all the pieces, cutting them out of the appropriate colored fabrics. I'm actually going to leave the little triangle parts there for last. I usually pick this up when I cut it. It's a little awkward for me to do this here so you can see. And that's why I'm not going to cut all the pieces in front of you. And then I'm going to cut out these little darts here, these little triangle pieces. And that's to give the face dimension. So we're going to cut that one out. Let me straighten this up. Okay. And I'm going to cut this out. Now, the thing about plushies is they can be really forgiving. You don't have to be uber exact with a plushie because nobody's going to get mad at you. So we'll cut the rest of the pieces out, and then I'll come back and we'll start working on the actual face, okay? because there is a technique to get this face done. So I'm going to cut out everything else, and then we'll come back and I will show you how to do the face, okay? Okay, so we've got all of our pieces cut out. It said 4 of these, so we have 2 here and 2 here. That's 4 of those, and 1 of these, and we have 1 of those. And then we needed 4 feet, so we got 2 and 2. That's 4 feet, and 1 of these, and that's the back. And we have 2 of these. This is the head, the back of the head. We have 2 dark ears, and then we have to make 2 inner ears, and I'm just not sure yet if I'm going to do them in pink or if I'm going to do them in the lighter color, so I haven't cut those yet. We needed 2 legs in dark. Then we have 2 of these, which is the tail. We have 1 of these in the light fabric, and then, of course, the face in the light fabric, and we have 1 of those. And then I went ahead and I cut these out. Now, these are the eyes, and I cut those out of black, and that's the nose and mouth piece, and I cut that out of black. These are the cheeks, and we cut those out of pink, and then these are the parts for the paws, and we cut all of these out of pink. So, we are going to start putting together some of our pieces. So I'm going to get this off to the side and get these put off to the side so we don't lose any of them. And at this point, I would generally put these in a small bag. And we're going to start working on the head, okay? So to do that, we're going to actually take the pins out of our pattern. And out of our muzzle piece. Okay. Now, we want to put this on the face. Approximately where we want it to be. Now, to make sure that we get this placement reasonably well, we actually want to use our piece. And you could just put your actual piece on here. You can feel we're pretty good where that is. Okay? It needs to go a little bit there. Okay. So this is where this piece is going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this on. Now, I'm doing the face before I sew anything onto this because I want the face to be even. So I'm going to pin this on. One more pin over here, just so we can kind of see where we're at. Now, for the rest of the face, we have a few more pieces that go on here. The little cheeks go right here. His little eyes that go right here. And his little nosy is going to go right there. Now you can start to see he's got a face. Looks like something. So we're going to put this down first, and then we're going to come back and do the rest of these pieces. But just to mock it up so we can see what it looks like, we're going to lay those there. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys how to put this on. So I'm going to get a needle and some brown thread, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we are going to use some thread. Now for this, I'm actually using some embroidery thread, and I put it onto a needle. I've doubled it over and put a knot at the end, and I'm going to start on the back, and I'm just going to come in like right on the edge. You can see that. It's right on the edge there. And I'm going to bring the thread through. And what I'm going to use here is a blanket stitch. So I'm going to come just outside into the light fabric and come right back up through the dark fabric. And I'm going to go through and then I'm going to move over. And I'm just going to do this all the way around. Okay, so we've got everything cut out. We've started to stitch. I've got this piece, the mask, put on. And the next piece we're going to be putting on is going to be the little cheek pieces. We're going to be using some silk thread. And this is actually Silky Thread. It's the brand. Snip that. And I'm going to be using a small needle to do this. Now, as you get older, this is harder and harder to do. So if you need to, get out that threader, use your needle threader. Absolutely. Or, more importantly, grab one of those kids or grandkids and make them do it for you. Okay, we're going to put a little knot here on the end. And because I'm sewing on a pink piece, of course, I'm using pink thread. Okay, now I get these where I want them, and I try to eyeball that they're even. And then I'm just going to take a pin. I'm just going to pin this on. It doesn't have to be perfectly pinned, but we do want it straight. We want it pretty even. Okay, so to do this, let's show you how to do this. You start at the bottom, and you're going to put your needle through and come up just inside your piece of fabric. Okay, just like that. Then you're going to come to the outside, just like right underneath it, and then come right back up. Okay, so just a little bit of fabric and a little bit of fabric. And then you're going to draw this through. And as you draw it through, you're going to create this loop. And you just want to catch that loop. Okay, this is called a blanket stitch. And then when you take your next stitch, again, through the background fabric, up through your cheek, there we go, and you're going to catch that loop again. You're going to bring it over. And you're just going to do that all the way around this piece, just down through the fabric, coming back up through the top, picking up your loop. And what you're creating here is, I don't know if you can see that very well, but you see how you kind of got a run of thread that goes across here? I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of hard to see it on the pink, but I'm basically creating a line of thread. So I'm going through the fabric, not necessarily all the way through. I'm just going through this piece at this point, and I'm going to draw it down. And then when I have a small loop, I'm just going to pick up those threads on my needle. See, 2 threads. And I'm just going to keep going. And I'm going to go all the way around this piece, and then I'm going to sew on the other piece as well. And then I'll set the eyes and do the eyes exactly the same. I'll put them down, mark where I want them, pin them to the piece, and then sew my way around. Now, usually by this point, when you get about halfway around, you can actually pull that pin out. Okay, so I'm going to finish sewing this one around, and then I'm going to sew this one on, and then I'm going to set up the eyes. I'm going to do those exactly the same way. Okay, so I went ahead and I stitched all of our pieces down using a blanket stitch, and they're all stitched onto the front. Now, reason I did this, obviously, before I went forward was so that I could actually, you know, get everything in place and have it the way that it's supposed to be. And if I fold the face in half, we're pretty even all the way around, and that's what we're looking for, is just some symmetry between the two sides. Now, we're going to deal with these. And in order to do that, we're going to basically fold this in half, and we're going to pin this together, making sure that we line up those points, both top and bottom. And we're going to set that aside. Now, the next part we're going to work on is going to be the back of the head. So let's go ahead and take the pins out of this. All right. So now we're going to put the right sides of the fabric together. And we have that part that we have to leave open. So we're going to put a pin going in towards the center, there, and at the bottom. Okay? Now, we're only going to stitch this side. So we're going to match up our points. We're going to pin. Match it all up. Pin. Pin. And pin. Okay. Now, this is the only part that we're worried about at this point. So we're going to go ahead and set that to the side. So now we have to deal with the ears. Now, we weren't sure what we were going to be putting on the inside of the ears, but I think we're going to just use the same light fabric that we used for the face. So we'll just get a piece of that. Okay. And now we need 2 ears. Let me find my fabric scissors. Okay. So I'm just going to get a piece of this. Again, we're going to follow this nap and stretch line. So we're going to give our fabric a little bit of a pull. Okay. So this is our nap. So our piece has to go this way. So we're just going to kind of line this up, pin this on, and cut this piece out. Now you could put pink in the ears or white in the ears or whatever you want to put in the ears. I would like a pin that goes through fabric. One more right over here. So we don't want this stretching out of shape when we go to cut. Okay. So I'm just going to cut these insides out. Pretty easy to do. And again, you know, these don't have to be totally perfect because fabric is forgiving. Okay. So we'll go ahead and pins out. All right, now we now have 2 ears and 2 ears. I'm going to put one on top of the other. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to put the right side in on both of these. We want to make sure that we have 2 ears that are opposite. So you'll notice this one side is a little longer, and we want to have 2 of them that look just like that, okay? Now to stitch these, we're just going to stitch around. So we're just going to put a few pins in here, here, and one over here. And that's ready to get sewn. Repeat the same thing. On this one. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next part. The next part, we're going to need this body front. Now remember, the body front is the light colored piece. And we're going to need the leg. Okay, now in putting our legs together, let me show you on the original piece here. On the original piece, you can see this little triangle right there. There's one on here too. And that actually tells us how to line up our leg. So if we put our belly piece down, and we take our leg and put our leg piece down, we're going to have one on either side. Now to put these on, we're going to flip them over. And there's a little bit of creative pinning that has to be done here. So whenever I do this kind of a pin where I have a curve, what I do is I pin from the outside in. And that just allows me to line up the 2 pieces of fabric, the cut edges, and pin them together. I'm just going to keep doing that. And I will actually do that on both sides. So right sides together. Pin those legs all the way down. Now it's going to be really hard to sew this if I pin the other one on. So I'm not going to pin the other leg on per se. What I am going to do is I'm going to pin it over here so that I know what edge goes where. And then I'm going to move that over. Okay? Got that part. Okay, so now we have all of our little pieces, and we're going to start turning them right side out. Now this might seem like a bit of an odd tool. It's a chopstick. But we're going to use it for a couple of things, and that's one, to make sure that we got all our seams. Here we see we have a mistake. So we're going to turn this back out, and I'm going to use a pin to mark my mistake. Okay? And I can fix this by hand or put it back on the machine, however it works. And then I'm just going to come in here, make sure that I get this one. All right, that's good. This looks good. And now we're going to turn this right side out. To do that, you can use a pair of hemostats to reach down there, or you can just use your chopstick. And you're just going to kind of push that fabric down. Check your seams, make sure you got your arm just the way you want it. Do the other one. Again, we're just kind of turning it right side out. We use the chopstick. Get it all down there. Round it out. There's arm number 2. Now the tail. Now I'm visually inspecting to make sure that I got it stitched nice. It looks good. go in and take a look at our seams first. Yep, looks like we got it all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this right side out. Again, I'm just going to kind of flip the bottom and use the chopstick to push it all through. Just like that. There we go. And then we're going to be taking a look at our face. So this is the back of our head, and this is the front of our head. Get that out of my way. So we're going to open up the back, and this opening that we left is actually towards the top of the head. So we're going to take the front of our head and place it face down. We're going to line up these two stitch marks, okay, where the stitches all came together, top and bottom, and we're just going to put a pin on either side. And that's our center back and our center front. Now, we have to put ears in here. Okay, so we need to stitch this one to fix it. So I'll just do that by hand real quick. Okay, now, in order to do the arms and the tail, I actually have to pre-stuff these. So I have fiber fill here. It's polyester fiber fill. And I'm going to get out some here to do one of these arms. Okay, that might be me close. Okay, so how you do this is you take a small bit, you kind of roll it up, and you're going to push it in. And you do this a little bit at a time. Okay, now I want to make sure that it goes all the way down and that it fills this completely. So you're going to see this big wad is going to fit in this little pocket. Okay, so I'm just going to keep putting some in. And this is where I get to decide if this is going to be a fat ferret or a skinny ferret or a medium-sized ferret, because I get to decide how much of this fiber is going to go into this little guy or girl, whatever the case may be. Not sure yet. Nah, he's brown. He's a little boy. If he was a little girl, I would have given him, like, you know, I'd have made him cream and pink or something. All right. So I'm actually kind of liking that. A little bit more, I think. We think. I think it's good. It's got nice bounce to it. Not too much on the shoulder. I think that's good. All right, so we're going to do the next one. Again, we're going to start with a small piece. Get it down to about the size of a strawberry. We're going to push it in all the way to the bottom. Now, stuffing the base of all the pieces is the most important part because it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the piece. Now, on these arms, we want them to be equal. So there may be a little adding and subtracting going on here for a minute as we get this stuffing in, down, and start working our way to the top, because we want to make sure that he doesn't have one fat arm and one thin arm. He'd look silly. Hey, Harry. So, let's see. So I'm going to take both arms, put them together. I'm going to feel, make sure that they have the same density and that they're about the same size. And they are. Okay. This one, it's a little too big. Okay, that's better. Okay, so we got those. And now we have to start stuffing the tail. Same thing. We're just going to take a small piece and we're going to start putting it in. Now this is where a hemostat comes in really good, because you can use it to push all this down. But right now I can't find my hemostat, so we're just going to use my fingers and my chopstick. I have a feeling I know where my hemostats are. Girl, you better bring them back. So we're getting some in here. Once I've got some in, we'll go ahead and get started on stuffing the base. So we're moving that down now, getting it all the way down to the bottom of the tail. And I'm going to continue to do this until I get this to the right thickness. And then we're going to come back and start putting these pieces on. All right. So I'm going to get these all stuffed together. And then we are going to bring on the back of the body and get that sewn, get that pinned and everything put into it, get it all sewn up, get it turned right side out, and then we're going to start getting some major sewing done here. Right. Believe it or not, this little hole actually gets smaller as the rest of this gets thicker. And I'm looking for the tail to have sort of the same consistency as the arms. So I'm kind of spreading it around and moving it around and moving that stuffing around. Now see, I've got a bare spot right there. There's no, there we go, no stuffing there. There we go. So now he's got a tail, nice soft minky tail, 2 arms, 1 head, and we're working on a body. Okay, we are now towards the home stretch. We have sewn together our body, and here's our little arms and our little legs. We are going to need to do some hand stitching on this. That's okay. We expect that. So here's his little legs and his little tummy and his little arms. And this is his tail, which goes on the other side. And then this is his head. So let me get these strings off of here. And we're going to go to that spot we left in the back. And that's where we're going to turn this right side out. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do, but it can be done. Get his ears up. Oh, he's starting to look like a ferret. Just push that fabric all the way out, all the way around. He's starting to look like a ferret. He look like a ferret. Ain't he cute? Okay, so now we're going to put a huge amount of stuffing in the head. When I say huge, I mean huge. So let's get started. So we're going to put the stuffing in and we're going to push down towards the bottom. This is, trust me, this is not just a get it in there kind of thing. You have to kind of put it in and put it where you want it to be. You can't just shove it in here. Okay? So we want to bring out that little dart at the bottom. So we're going to make sure that we get some in there. And then I'm going to get some more out of here. Okay. And we're going to start stuffing. Pushing it to the sides. We're going to fill up the other side because we want them to have cheeks. It's going to have cheekies. more over there. A little more over here. Okay, now we have this little dart at the top too that needs to be done. So let's make a strawberry. Let's put the strawberry right there in the front and then pack that in towards the ear. So over here towards this ear. We're going to start looking at his face, kind of mushing him around, getting him formed up. A little bit more right here in the back. Under there, under here. Okay, moved around a little bit. There we go. Okay. Oh, he's a honey. Isn't he cute? I think he's adorable. He is. He's cute. Look at him. He's so adorable. Okay, so now this will be closed by hand, just using a invisible stitch. So we can put that to the side for the moment, and we need to get to stuffing the body. Okay, and see, we got a little spot here that we need to fix, but that'll actually be easier to fix once we stuff him. So we're going to start by putting some like apricot size balls down in his legs. So let's get some more stuffing. I'm working this into a ball. It's going to go in through his head. Get one leg stuffed. That's one. And then we're going to do the other one. Again, we're kind of working it into a ball. Sticking it in. Okay. We're going to take that one down. Put it on the other side. Where that chopstick comes in handy again. Use it to compact that in there. All right, and we're going to put some in the middle. And some more. Okay, so now we have our major pieces all stuffed. And the only thing we really have left to work on are our feet. Fixing his arm, attaching the tail, putting the head on. Yes, he has a very big head on a tiny little body. And then getting his feet put on, and he should be pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up doing all of my invisible stitching and my draw stitch to get this ready to go. And it's actually going to go on here like this on the back. And you won't even see the stitching on that. And then the little feet, we'll come back and talk about those a little bit before I actually put them on. But I'm going to get these little pieces stitched down, get the head closed up, get the tail closed up, get the arm fixed, and get the body itself closed up, and we will be ready to assemble him. Okay? All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so now we have our feet, and we've cut a hole in the back. We're going to go in. Without a hemostat, we can use a pair of tweezers. We're going to turn our foot right side up. It's not the easiest thing to do, but we can get it done. We're going to use the back end of the tweezers or our chopstick or whatever we're using, our dowel. We're just going to kind of go around and make sure that we get all of the foot turned. And then we use our tweezers to help us fill this. We're going to start pushing in our filling. We're going to make sure that we work it all the way down and on all the sides. So we do the furthest part first, which is 2 ends. There we go. Getting it in there. It's along the side here. Go ahead and open that up. Use the back of the tweezer, pushing it in. Now, we don't want the feet to be rock hard. We really want them to be very loose and limber and playful, okay? And we're going to do the same thing to the other one. We're going to go in, use our tweezers to help us out. We're going to grab the furthest piece and start pulling it back through the center. We're going to get it all turned out. There we go. Use the blunt end to push it out all the way around. We're going to get this one stuffed too. And then once this one is stuffed, I will be right back to show you how we're going to attach the feet to our little man. And then we'll get his head on and he should be pretty much done. Okay, so we have little stuffed feet. And we're going to come on from the inside. That's to bury the knot. And then we're just going to kind of ladder stitch this. And the ladder stitch, we're basically just going to take a couple of stitches on each side. And since this is actually going to be sort of inside, we're not overly concerned about the neatness here. We just basically want to get this kind of closed up. Okay, let's do one more. See, now we can't even see where it was opened. Now we're going to take our foot with our thread. We're going to make sure that our paw is facing forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to make an attaching stitch. We're going to pull that, and now we've got this part connected to this part. So we're going to take a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom. And we're basically going to do that stitch all the way around, keeping our foot where we want it. Now this first set is just going to be kind of rough because we just want to get the foot attached. We're not overly concerned at this point about making it stay. We just want it to be attached. This is the part where we're making sure that it's attached, that it's even. And that aesthetically, it looks the way we want it to. Now again, I'm using a silk thread here, so I can pull this pretty tight. And of course, you can use a cotton thread if that's what you have. It's not a big deal. Okay, let's see. There. And one here. All right, so I've kind of roughed this foot on. One more. Now before I tie this off, we're going to make sure that that foot is where we want it. We've got some toes hanging out, a little bit of a heel in the back. And that's going to kind of help to stabilize him a little bit and make him look a little more balanced and symmetrical. So at this point, I'm going to do my little stitch. And then I'm going to wrap my thread once, twice, 3 times around the point of my needle. Pull my needle through. And again, I'm going to hide this by stitching through, coming out some random place, pressing down, and nipping the thread so that it gets sucked back into the fiber. Now I'm going to do the same thing, just a general attachment of the other foot on the other side with the feet going in the right direction. And once I have that completed, then I'm going to use the same general idea to put the head on. So to make the head work, I'm going to line up this center line that we created with the little dart and the back piece on the center of his neck here. And I'm going to simply sew around with a very easy stitch alternating between the head and the body to get these connected. Then once I have them connected, then I'm going to go in with my finishing stitch and make sure that I make it look neat and clean. Okay, so I'm going to get everything attached, and then I will be right back, and we will take a look at our little ferret.
You
Okay?
guys didn't think I'd really show you like the completed version, did ya? Nope. That's up to JD. Okay, so you did get a sneak peek of him in my late show. He was kind of flying around. Needless to say, he was adorable. And now he should be safely in his new mommy's arms. So listen, till the next time, do me a favor. Like, where is he? It's over there. Over there. Subscribe, like me, ring my bell, share me with all your friends. I make plushies. Till the next time, guys. Bye-bye.